So if there's some things that remain the same, and those things are, the 6 sides of your business that you need to solve. What does success look like for us? Are we having to rewrite the story a little bit? Maybe you're just adding in a paragraph or a chapter in the story on the journey you didn't plan on, but you're still heading in the direction you want to go.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
Welcome back to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
And I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
And it's an honor to be with you, each one of you here today. I'm wearing my Hold the Line sheepdog. We are sheepdog hat. And if you're watching us on YouTube, so grateful to be able to come to you this way. If you're listening to this podcast through one of our other amazing podcast channels, welcome to our episodes that we've been unpacking the Phoenix Plan. And today we're going to be digging deep into marketing post-COVID or even in the midst of COVID, because we're not sure exactly how this corona crisis is all going to unfold, but we do know we need to be mobilizing because the people in our communities are desperate for what we have to offer. They absolutely are. And now is the time.
Yeah, we're going to have a serious CEO conversation here, guys. Just like if you were a CEO running a business before 9/11 or around 9/11, I remember what that was like. It was like, Pete, it was like traveling. There was traveling on right up to the 10th of September, right? And then there was the 11th of September and everything after that. And what changed? Everything changed, right? So everything about traveling changed, right? So what we have to recognize is post-COVID, everything's going to change. Like where people get their information, how people consume their information, what they're listening for, what they're responding to, what they'll be willing to do, right? So all of it's changed. Everything's changed. And man, we got to change with it.
Yeah, it's absolutely true, Doc. And what we're seeing is that there's really 3 paths that our clients are taking. And I'd love for you to unpack this because I know you've had an opportunity to speak on other podcasts and speak at other events. And it just came very, very clear to us that, our doctors and businesses outside of chiropractic. Okay. So even just a normal person who's not in business, you're really going to respond in one of 3 ways. You're either going to be waiting and just waiting and waiting and waiting, or you're going to try to do things the way you did before. But we know that the way that things are going to grow and really turn out best is if we actually pivot and adapt. Doc, can you dig into that for us as we begin this marketing conversation? Because really, we all need to embrace the fact that things are going to be different. Yeah, things are different already, but we need to come to grips with that. Like you said, and we've talked about the Stockdale paradox. It's brutal facts. We have to be realistic. We have to identify the brutal facts, but also part of the Stockdale paradox, which I love, is holding on to faith, right? So it's faith and brutal facts. That's the combination. That's what we move forward with. So it's faith-filled action and identifying what's brutal and what.
Yeah. Before the show started, I held up a graphic that I had created for a webinar that we had done. So for those on YouTube right now, you can see this graphic. Otherwise, I'll talk you through it. It's a very simple graphic. So if you're like us, you showed up for 2020 with your goals all outlined, and they probably looked a lot like this trajectory of growth where you had a nice upward incline. Our goal is always right now, double the business. We're doubling the business in 2 years, double the value, double the revenue, double the business. So we have this beautiful trajectory, this nice, sexy, straight incline across Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, 2020. And everything was going just swimmingly, right? January was awesome. February, best month ever. And then boom, we get hit with this meteorite called the Corona crisis, right? And this is where every business around the world, at the very least, lost their momentum on their growth, right? There was just a huge distraction factor. For some businesses, it was a complete derailer, right? So everybody took a squat, right? Everybody had a reset, right? And what we're seeing is there's really 3 ways that businesses are responding to this. So CEOs, we're talking to you right now. This first red line that I'm pointing to is representative of this group of people that are like, hey, you know what? We're going to stand by. We're going to stay on the sidelines, and we're going to wait this out, and we're going to see what goes. And they're not doing anything. They're not taking any action whatsoever. They're just standing by and waiting, right? And that group of people, this is not going to end well for them. This year is not going to go well for them, and this is going to become this low-level trajectory. They're going to have this new normal, so to speak. They're going to fall far short of what their goals were. Then there's a second group of people that are like, yeah, you know what? We're going to kind of eke back into the marketplace. We're going to sneak back in, and we're going to just try to keep doing what we've always been doing, right? And this is going to be a long slog for this group of people. And if you're seeing this on YouTube, you can see this blue line here, which is the second group of people that are like, you know what? We're just going to keep doing what we were doing before, the same thing. Well, they're going to come up short as well. There's a third group of people who are recognizing that there's an opportunity here. And the opportunity is to pivot, right? It's to adapt and change like a healthy organism. And they're going to turn that squat into a jump. And they can actually capitalize by repositioning themselves and taking advantage of this opportunity with better insight. And they can finish off actually stronger on the year, net have a better year than they had originally planned, and set themselves up beautifully for a strong 2021.
So good, Doc. I love it because, even just teaching health, we always teach about adaptive physiology and how your body adapts to environments. The body is designed to do that, which is a whole nother conversation for us to get into, even about this whole situation. But regardless of that, what you're talking about is you're talking about adapting and you're talking about pivoting. There are some things that remain the same, and that is the framework that we plan, we prepare, we execute, and we assess. We've talked about that prior to COVID, and we're still talking about that now. So if there's some things that remain the same, and those things are, the 6 sides of your business that you need to solve. You still need to solve those now. You need to keep your eyes on the vision. What does success look like for us? Are we having to rewrite the story a little bit? Maybe you're just adding in a paragraph or a chapter in the story on the journey that you didn't plan on, but you're still heading in the direction you want to go. What does leadership look like? The leadership question is, who do I need to become? The question is, who do you need to become? Who do your team need to become right now as we market, as we re-engage with our marketplace right now? We've stabilized our business. We're reactivating our business and our people. We're actually going into the past. We're saying, hey, we're even inviting people from year ago or more. We're saying, hey, come on back. We'd love to have you back. And then we're looking for mobilization. Let's get back into our community. Let's be the beacon of light. Let's be this resource in our community that we've always existed to be. Let's continue to be here in the marketplace because the people are needing our support and our help. That's leadership. Then we have our systems in place. And that's what we're talking about here. Systems for internal, systems for digital, systems for external marketing. And a lot of that boils down to, what's your calendar? What's written down exists. What's not written down doesn't exist. It has to be written down. We have to have a plan. We have to prepare for this. So we plan, prepare, we execute, and we assess. Doc, we can't get away as CEOs from the things that are most important. And again, it's the vision, it's leadership, it's systems, it's your people. It's not only hiring the right people, but it's pouring into the people, it's equipping them, it's training them, right? Because we hire people and we hire the right people, put in the right position, and we help them be able to do the right work and do it the right way. A lot of this doing the right work the right way has been the pivot, right? We say, well, I got the right people, they're in the right position, but the work has changed and the way that we've had to do things has changed. Okay, so that's where the pivot and the adapting has happened. And so hopefully we have the right people in the right positions, but we've got to be doing the right work the right way. That's where we're planning, preparing, executing, assessing. And then of course, it's about training. And we've talked about this. When we talk about releasing a mobilization or marketing plan, this will come with lots of training. It's going to come with a lot of training because again, we're doing things differently. For example, some of you may have never done a webinar before in your life. I'm going to go out on a limb and say most have never done a webinar. And yet you should do a webinar. Do you just do a webinar? Or do you train and prepare for that? Well, you've got to train on it. How do you capture people, get butts in the seats if you're doing a digital event? Well, is it the same as the way you do it if somebody's coming into your office or business? How do you do a call to action from a digital event that's different than how do you do a call to action when you're actually face-to-face with people, right? We have to train on this. So training should be at one of the highest priorities right now as CEOs. And of course, energy. And energy is everything. When we talk about, that's about focus. It's about taking your team, avoiding the distractions and all the what ifs and what could be and what will happen and the unknowns and saying, we're focusing on what we do know, right? That's what the conversation is. I'm focusing on where I can influence. That's where my influence is going to grow. This is what I know. This is what I can do. Team, this is what we know. This is what we can do. Let's all get our energy and focus right here. That's going to be the most effective and productive way to mobilize during this time.
We'll be back to my conversation with Dr. Steven right after this. Now more than ever, you must be on your A game. Doc, as we move out of the dark ages of this corona catastrophe, let's ready ourselves to move into the mobilization stage and start marketing again. Are you and your team ready to be seeing a surge and influx of new patient prospects? If you're like most chiropractic practices, You may be a little out of shape when it comes to your day 1, day 2, day 3 process and procedure. We've all been focused on other things. So let us help you get back in shape so that you can bring your A game to your new patients and don't blow it for them. Remember, you can only help the ones you convert. We're going to make this easy for you and your team. The Remarkable Conversion Immersion is an intensive 2-day training on our proven new patient conversion process, and we're hosting it as a virtual live streaming event June 12th and 13th. During this virtual live training event, we will show you exactly what to do and how to do it. Discover the proven system that thousands of successful chiropractic teams have been using all around the world for years, and it's working now, today, better than ever. This is a live streaming training event, so you can train from the comfort of your home, or even better, get your team together and train from your office. No flights, hotels, or expensive meals. All the awesome TRP coaches and TRP tribe, and the best new patient conversion training available in chiropractic. You stay home with your family and sleep in your own bed. Since the COVID-19 restrictions, we have been delivering our TRP immersions as live streaming and virtual events, and the feedback has been off the charts. And when you register now, you get 66% off tickets for yourself and your team while seats last. The seminar is regularly $29.97 when you attend a live venue. It's now available for only $9.97 because it will be streaming, a live event streaming. The 2020 Remarkable Conversion Immersion, June 12th and 13th. Get your tickets now. Go to theremarkablepractice.com/conversion-immersion, or simply go to theremarkablepractice.com and click on events and go to the Conversion Immersion in June. Get 66% off for you and your team while tickets last. Register now for this incredible event. You can have the practice and lifestyle you dream of. Let us help you get your team on board with a simple, proven system that works. Don't try to figure this out alone. Join this group of successful chiropractors who are eager to help you in an ego-free environment and get the tools you need to accelerate your practice this year. And now, back to our conversation.
Yeah, my favorite definition or job description for a CEO is our job is to marshal, to collect and direct the limited resources of our team, right? To collect and direct the limited resources, the time, energy, focus, and money of our business, and say, this is what's important now, and that's what will be important next, right? So win-win. What's important now? What's important next? When it comes to marketing, this is a really important conversation. And this is an example of a pivot, Pete. You know, when we talk about marketing in a post-COVID world, right? So we need to look at this and say, what has changed? We already said, you got to look through the lens of everything's changed, right? So we now need to recognize it's like, okay, what is the marketplace listening for? What are they responding to? How are they consuming their information? How can we get access to, so ultimately you need to be asking those questions from a place of things have changed. Let me do this eyes wide open. And you typically hear us talk about internal, external, and digital. And we're being really deliberate here by saying internal, digital, and external, right? So internal is, of course, speaking to inside of your practice to existing patients, your existing network of people. Then digital would be, of course, leveraging all of the digital platforms. And external would be the brick and mortar type outside your office activities, outside talks, dinner talks, corporate wellness, spinal screenings, et cetera, right? So as you hear us say internal, then digital, then external, right? So that represents a timeline, right? So because here's what we know is there's going to be a big uphill battle to get in front of groups of people again, right? So people, number one, for most people that are listening right now, your state, your region, your area may not even be open yet, right? So people may not actually be back to work, back in place. So no, never mind trying to get in front of the groups of people. They're not there. There aren't even groups of people yet, right? So what we have to do is we have to assume, all right, so we don't want to put ourselves in a position where we are going to be fighting an uphill battle. We're going to have to get up and over these barriers one after another. There's going to be a time when all those barriers are going to drop down, right? So what we want to recognize is right now, full on internal marketing, and then shift to internal plus digital marketing, heavy duty on the digital marketing. We'll talk about how to deliver this same message into the same marketplace really intentionally, but doing it digitally through webinars, Facebook Lives, and Facebook marketing, SEO, et cetera. And then it'll be time to shift into the external. And I'm going to make a prediction right now that my plan on this is that as we look real time, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, the balance of the year here, I'm going to say right now, we have to focus hardcore May, June, July on internal marketing. And as we shift June, July, August, September, the June, July, August, really heavy duty with the digital marketing. And the community, I'm predicting, is going to be ready for external marketing September, October, November. There's going to be a window right there that we're going to want to all capitalize. So we've got to position ourselves, and we got to plan and prepare perfectly to optimize the opportunity we're going to have this coming fall.
And Doc, we have to speak to the fact that we have clients right now who are doing significant big things right now. And we have other clients right now who are just getting things started and back open again. So we know that the timeline is very different, but what we're seeing across the board is whether you were shut down completely or you were down, 75% or something significant, is we're seeing that everything is starting to surge back. What we've been feeling and what we've been seeing is that there's momentum. Momentum is building in the practices globally. We're seeing the momentum. And so one of the things we've talked about with our clients is saying, pay very close attention to what's happening in your local market. Pay very close attention to the conversations that are happening. Watch what's happening in the local markets and the stores and where people are at. You'll get your finger on that pulse, and you'll see if when people are willing to take the next step of action steps. So, Doc, you laid out a beautiful plan. I loved it in those months, the way it's break down, and I believe that you're exactly right. Doc, pay very close attention to what's happening in your region and stay focused on being relevant at that time. Don't try to. And we talked about this previously, but you weren't marketing in April. You just weren't doing that. Nobody was doing that. Everybody shut off their digital marketing. For the majority, they shut off marketing. They weren't going out. We weren't doing that. But starting in May, I'm starting to see people starting to get into that in some regions, and it makes sense. But for others, maybe it's going to be in June you'll start deploying more of that digital strategy. But what we do know is that right now, internal marketing is the name of the game. And Dr. Bobby, who's a coach of the Remarkable Practice, said an amazing thing. I'm going to quote him. He said, "The best internal marketing strategy is to reactivate all your existing patients." I love that. The best internal marketing strategy is to reactivate all your existing patients. I think that's still the focus. So when you think mobilizing and internally marketing, you know what it is? You're looking right inside your own office and getting squeezing everything out of what already exists right there. Okay, so when we focus on that being our highest priority, is that we are going to be focused on reactivating all of our people. That's really marketing strategy internal number one. That's number one, which again, we've laid that out for you in the plan, the reactivation plan. When it comes to marketing, it's very important to get a framework. You've got to have it written down on the calendar. Doc, I have an internal marketing calendar. I have a digital marketing calendar. I have an external marketing calendar. They may all live on one, but they're color-coded differently. Why? Because I know we're always marketing, right? We're always marketing. We're always got marketing going on. And so right now, internally, it may be the only always marketing, but that's got to be happening right now. So what are you driving towards? And we have some suggestions for you for sure. A couple of things you want to make sure you do when you set up your marketing plan. Number one is you determine what is the initiative? What is it? So let's just go with, we're going to do a workshop, a webinar on bulletproofing your immune system. That's the initiative. Okay, so we define what it is. That's the topic. That's the theme. That's the focus. That's what we want to achieve. Okay, so we're going to do a webinar. We want to get X number of people in that webinar. Okay, perfect. We've defined it. Number two, who's going to own that? So who's the owner of this initiative, this marketing internal initiative that we're going to be doing internally right here with our current people that are coming here? So how are we going to do it? Who's going to be responsible for it? And who's going to be a contributor to help with that? Okay, so let's define who that is. Let's line those people up and let's get really clear. Number three, we got to set the date, right? It's one of the biggest things that we do in our business is setting dates, even dates for episodes that we're doing with the podcast. And we're very, very intentional about what needs to be going out when and how everything needs to be happening. So set the date for that workshop. And number four is you got to determine how we're going to deliver this, how we're going to deliver the marketing, how we're going to deliver getting people signed up for registration, how we're going to actually deliver the workshop itself when it comes time to the workshop, how we're going to open it, how we're going to deliver the content, how we're going to close it, what we're going to do to follow up. That whole thing needs to be planned and prepared and then executed. So those are the things we have to set up. You as a CEO need to organize your team, marshal those resources to get this set up.
Okay, let's take a quick break and talk about PyroMatchmakers.
PyroMatchmakers will help you find the right person for the job. If you're looking to hire the ideal chiropractic assistant, PyroMatchmakers will help you find the specific person missing from your team so that you can get back to using your talents to serve more people. Or if you're looking to hire the ideal associate doctor, CMM can help. PyroMatchmakers helps chiropractors like you find the ideal associate doctor to unlock your practice potential and get you the freedom that you desire. To learn more, go to PyroMatchmakers.com.
And now let's jump right back into our conversation.
So powerful, man. And as I'm listening, I want to make sure people hear that the stacking concept comes back to life here as well, right? So on this timeline, we started really focusing on internal. Why? Because we wanted to speak into the listening of the person that was listening. The outside world had sort of that shock and awe punch in the face effect after COVID hit. Nobody was listening to anything. So in marketing, they call that speaking into people's listening. So if you have patients that are showing up into your office, they're showing up and they're looking at you being like, what should I do, doc? They have they know, like, and trust you, and they're looking for some guidance and some direction, right? So you start with those people right there. Then the internal marketing shifts to a reactivation effort, right? Which is where we go back after the 4 categories of people that had gone missing in action, and we speak into their listening. Again, we're internal marketing. We're telling the story around, it's about the strength of the host, not the strength of the virus. Let's do something that you can actually have some influence on. Let's get you back in here. Start doing this, stop doing that, right? That's internal marketing. It's a message that is going to resonate with that group of people, right? Because they're actually listening. They're looking for leadership. They're looking for a system, for strategies, for tactics to follow, right? So speaking into their listening, they come back into the office. Next thing you know, it's internal marketing still. Who do you know? Who do you know who's scared to death at home? Who do you know who's immunocompromised? Who do you know who got sick, right? So who do you know? Let's get those people in here. Let's strengthen that person, right? So you're still internal marketing, right? Then we start shifting and we start doing digital marketing, because what we recognize is your community is starting to hear things differently in the media. Right? We're on the other side of the hump, right? They're starting to hear cases are down, deaths are down, hospitals are starting to do more of the elective procedures, right? So businesses are starting to open. Whatever you're hearing, when you hear that in your community, you know that that's what your community is hearing, so that their listening starts to change. The panic comes down, the fear comes down, and now they're actually listening to your marketing message, right? It's time to get back to life, back on track. Yeah, the key on this is you want to be in this world, but not of this world, right? So you want to be able to pay attention to what are your people hearing outside of your office, so you understand what they're hearing, so your timing is right on this. So then you get into that marketplace and you market appropriately, and your marketing speaks into their listening. And then we leverage digital and we ramp our game up and we start delivering that bulletproof your immune system message, right? So now we start delivering webinars and Facebook Lives, and we introduce the concept of third-tier healthcare, right? So we had third-tier healthcare conversations inside of our practice, talking to our patients who were listening to us at that point, where we help them understand there's a difference between tier 1 healthcare, which is the treatment of disease, right? Let's wait for people to get sick and let's treat them and keep them from dying. Then there's tier 2, which has really been pushed into the limelight with this COVID crisis, which is the prevention of disease, right? It has nothing to do with the host. It has to do with prevention of disease to keep people safe. Wash your hands, social distancing, clean the surfaces, no hugs and high fives. You don't change the health of the host at all by doing preventative work like that, right? It's tier 2 healthcare. No one is talking about the third tier except for us, for you. Third tier healthcare is the promotion of health. This is all about the host. This is how do you get people to get stronger? How do you get people healthier, right? So one is about keeping people from dying. The second tier is about keeping people safe. This third tier healthcare is about making people healthy, getting people well, right? Strengthening the host. This is a totally different conversation. You start internally with that conversation, then you start bringing it outside your office digitally through webinars, Facebook Lives, et cetera. And you know what's coming next? Then we're going to bring that message into the marketplace, and we're going to be able to serve a marketplace that is absolutely desperate for a leader who has a better way to better health.
Yeah, this is so good, Doc. I love listening to you and hearing you lay it out. I know that everyone who's listening as well is feeling the same. It's so clear and so well defined. So with the internal, just continuing to press into the internal, then we're going to get into the digital and even external. When it comes to internal marketing, remember there's three types of marketing strategies. You have your organic, you have your process driven, and you have your campaign driven. Okay, so remember, those three continue to exist right now. So what is organic? Well, organic is culture. Organic is your culture. Because you exist, people come to you, right? It's just cultural. It's because we have a business in this community, and it's like we talk about, you've done talks, you have patients, you've been present, you have branding, you maybe have, some advertising that's happened over the years. And because people know you exist, you organically are going to draw people into your business. You can always track it back to something, but we're going to call that organic, like people coming to you without a very specific defined effort. The second, and so those are going to happen, right? Those are actually some of the first things that we've seen coming in as I'm talking to clients. It's like, yeah, we're getting new patients. It's down, but we've got new patients. They're just kind of coming in. But what's happening is that number one, they're coming in organically. Number two, a lot of those people are converting, right? And the reason why is because they're actually really selecting to come in right now. The second is process driven. So process driven is looking at your processes, your day one, your day two, your day three, day four, your reevaluation processes, all the way through the client journey, your patient journey, looking at the process and saying, okay, where in the process do we have an opportunity to invite our current patients to say, hey, who do you know? Who do you know in your world, in your sphere, in your community where you do life, your family, your work, your place of worship, that right now can use chiropractic care? Who do you know right now that could benefit from what you've been hearing and getting from us about boosting your immune system and staying healthy and third tier healthcare, not just safety, but actually building and promoting health? Who do you know right now that needs that? That's a process driven, conversation that's built into a very specific step in the client journey. Then you have campaign driven, which is what we're talking about here. Hey, we're going to do a webinar on this date in this time on this subject, and we want you there, and we want you to bring someone with you there, right? So internally, we're bringing people into these opportunities to learn, to grow, and we're doing it by hosting an event, which is a campaign, right? So you would campaign for this webinar on this date and this time. And again, we do that through the people who we currently have relationships with. Doc, like you said, the people who have given you their ears. They trust you. They love you. They want to support you. They actually want to hear from you. So they're wanting to hear from you. So they want to come and they want to support your business. So by inviting others to come with you. So we've got to walk this out. But understand with internal, there's those three. You've got the organic, you've got process driven, you've got campaign driven. All three are working. We got to work them all right now. So you, your team, everyone needs to be clear on exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it right now.
So as we go into this summertime season or wintertime, if you're listening to Australia, as we're coming into this next season where we're stepping out of our practices, either digitally and then eventually physically, we're going to bring a new message to this community, right? It's not new to us. It's new to them. And that's something I want to make sure you guys are hearing loud and clear. We're not suggesting that you're changing our message. The chiropractic message of above, down, inside out, what it takes to be a healthy human being, the things you need to start doing and stop doing to express your health potential, none of that has changed in any of this. All we've done is we've turned the lights on. So for those of you who've been telling that story all along, congratulations. You have exactly the practice you deserve, right? So you're thriving through this thing right now. For those of you who are kind of sleeping at the wheel and be like, man, I got away from that. I got to get back to that. Congratulations. I'm glad that you are getting back on track and you're going to work on those skills and get back to what you know to be the truth and what is your uniqueness in the marketplace. For those of you who are taking your eyes off that ball entirely, first, I want to say congratulations. At least you realize that, and now it's time to get back on track and tell the story. It's third-tier healthcare. Dr. Pete, this is the message that we're going to be bringing out into our community. It's a total blue ocean strategy. I'm so stoked about this. Like, I know that our docs, our clients are doing their best patient education, their best table talk, their best workshops, their best report of findings of their entire career. They're all throwing fastballs right down the middle. Oh my gosh, everybody's walking into the clinic focused on health, talking about health. Even if they're talking about viruses, sickness, and disease, they're still focused on their health, right? And we're able to throw those fastballs right down the middle, and it's resonating because we have a truth that resonates. We have a simple and elegant solution for these people that empowers them. And we're now going to be able to position to take that out to the world digitally and externally. And you know what? This is such a big deal. Let's dedicate an entire episode to it. I say we double back and we unpack this third tier healthcare.
Yeah, absolutely, Doc. And so let's just dig in a little bit deeper to the digital plan and then the external plan before we wrap this episode. So when it comes to your digital marketing, remember there's two types of marketing. You've got your free content, And then you've got your paid advertisement. When you hear digital marketing, I think a lot of people just think, oh, they're running Facebook ads. That's not it. It's actually about putting out content to add value to your audience and to build and grow your audience. So important to be in what we call the long game when it comes to positioning yourself in the marketplace. And so you've got to think about your digital marketing in two ways. Number one is the free content plan, and the second is the paid advertisement plan. So let me differentiate those two for you. So the paid advertisement plan is actually running a specific ad or a campaign to drive people into your office for an evaluation for chiropractic, or you could do this for driving people to a workshop. So you can actually do paid advertisement to drive people directly into your office for a new patient evaluation for a condition specific, or you can use paid advertisement to drive people into your campaign-driven webinar, right? So that's one of the strategies. And I actually recommend that if you have the capacity and the ability to do that you should do that. Number two, though, and it doesn't replace the second, is the free content plan. What is this? This is the actual nurturing of your audience. This is bringing relevant content across your platforms to add value to your people. So thinking about what are the different digital platforms right now that exist and what are you involved with? Number one is Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and email. Those four come to my mind because those are the most common ones. So what type of content, free content, are you adding to your audience right now? What are you putting out there that's supporting them, encouraging them, challenging them, directing them, giving them insights, asking them questions? Right? What are you doing right now to do that for your current followers? That's what you need to be focusing on. So coming up with some sort of an editorial calendar or some sort of a content marketing calendar that brings value to your people. Now, this is something that's important pre-COVID. But during COVID and post-COVID, there's going to be a change in the conversation. Like we said, pivot and adapt. Many of you haven't really embraced this to the level that you need to. So you pivoting and adapting is saying, hey, I'm going to embrace more the importance for my mug and the mug of my business to be out there in the marketplace digitally. I'm going to commit to that. So coming up with a plan and executing that plan. So that's free content. So that's digital. External, when we think about external marketing, what I think about here is I'm actually thinking about three different things. Number one is re-engagement. Number two is resetting. And number three is igniting. So let me talk about this. Re-engagement is actually looking at the relationships that you currently have with existing businesses and re-engaging with those people. We all know the last couple of months, everybody's either been shut down or completely just turned sideways or upside down. And so now is the time to go and start calling and messaging and stopping by the businesses of the people who you've already had a relationship with. Maybe you've done a workshop for them in the past, or maybe you had something booked that got canceled because of the event. Re-engage with those relationships. That's the first thing. The second is reset. When you re-engage, have a plan to reset and come up with a new, setting up a new workshop with them and tell them about what you're doing digitally, saying, listen, post-COVID world, we may not be able to come in and do that lunch talk that I was going to do to your team, your employees, but you know what? I can do it. We'll do it digitally. So if they're working remotely, or even if they're coming to the office, but it's kind of like half the crew one day and a different half a different day, or whatever the situation is that they're doing, we're going to be able to bring them that exact same information. We're going to bring them the most relevant information right now. So resetting the conversation, resetting the talk, resetting the topic, resetting the conversation will be step two. And then number three is igniting. And again, this is about developing new relationships in your community. When you've been through a wartime, what happens is everybody becomes a little bit more open to connecting with people, especially business owners. We've all been through it. Everybody comes in with their scars. Everybody comes in with their war wounds. It's like, which battle were you in? Well, oh, you were in that battle? Okay, so now all of a sudden we get into that conversation. It says, yeah, man, I'm a small business owner too. Definitely been feeling it. Hey, let's collaborate. Collaboration is a premium in times like this. Everybody's looking for, hey, how can we help each other out? So get in that conversation with the local businesses in your community. That's what I would call the step three, which is ignite. Ignite some great relationships. Maybe you've never done this before, or you don't have relationships. Get into those conversations, get into those relationships, start igniting them. So those are the three things that I suggest you do digitally. One, re-engage with the current relationships you have. That makes the most sense. Step number one. Then setting up maybe that Bulletproof Your Immune System workshop and webinar for their business, or for the church or for whatever the organization, maybe a gym or whatever the organization is that you are working with or partnering with. And then third is reignite. And when you reignite, offer them that same workshop as well. Say, hey, here's how I can help you. And again, we're always looking to see how can I add value to you. All right, guys. So this is, again, the conversation that we've begun, and we're going to continue this conversation in our next episode of this podcast, talking about third tier healthcare and how this is the space that we are to occupy. And there's never been a more important time for chiropractic, and there's never been a more important time for the conversation that we are going to have.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.